Zanzi, welcome back. Your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We're opening up and educating now on something so relevant, so pertinent, and I hope you're all sitting up because this is a conversation you want to get involved in. Now, we're talking about all things relationships, and today we're exploring polyamory. Polyamory. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but we are about to find out. Now, this is the practice of engaging in multiple romantic relationships with the consent of all people involved. But before we get into that, let's meet our couple for the day. Now, it goes by the name of Gabe and Loren. They are both a gay, lesbian, transgender, polyamorous, interracial couple who were best friends for 10 years before they started dating. And although they've always been inseparable, their romantic love kind of solidified after they each came out to their families. I love that. Now, Gabe as a transgender and Loren is also queer. So Gabe identifies as trans, gay, pansexual, and Loren identifies as a non-binary, lesbian, pansexual. Now, a lot of tongue twisters here, a lot to try to figure out, especially if you're not privy to this conversation, but this is the perfect opportunity for all of us to get educated, and they are promising to not hog the entire queer alphabet, but instead educate us on what's actually happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our love couple in the building, Loren and Gabe. Guys, I've seen you online. I've had an opportunity to work with you in the space. Your energy, your soul, everything else about it, it's incredible. But there's a lot of a big conversation going on around here with regards to what's happening between the two. But before we get into that, let's talk about the good stuff as well. How did y'all meet? I mean, it is a love story after all, right?
Well, we met in university, actually, on the first day of auditions for theatre school at UCT.
Okay.
And we were friends throughout that time, but we only really became close as besties at the end of the school process. I think because we hadn't really shown ourselves to each other yet, and also there were things about the interracial dynamic that I wasn't as aware of my whiteness at the time, and we had to kind of figure out who we were first before we could get really close.
And that's a daunting task. I mean, with anybody just generally figuring yourself out, there's no like, okay, I'm done. I know who I am. That's a continual journey, right? Yeah. Something that you guys often speak about in your journey. I mean, Gabe, you've been doing incredible things. You've directed one of South Africa's first rom-coms with regards to this space when it comes to the entire LGBTQI+ community called No Hiding, right? Which has been incredible. Ron, you're also starring in it. You're part of this magic as well. But you guys are bringing up incredible conversations, and the topic for me is educational. Talk to me about all the projects you're actually being involved in and why these conversations are so important, especially bringing it up in that space.
Yeah, when we graduated, we wanted to create our own work just because we, as actors, we just wanted to make sure that we were on film. And then when Gabe came back in 2019 and also came out, and it was before I came out, we started shooting content that was more queer and that we felt the conversations were missing in media. We wanted to just showcase it. And it just became more truthful, and as we started becoming more truthful about ourselves and coming out, that's what our work kind of focused on. Gabe wrote No Hiding Here, which I was honored to get a part in. I got the part Gabe didn't think I would get, so I was happy.
Was it not like inside advantage?
No,
I just have the final
Are you sure?
I had to fight my way to get that part.
Okay.
Because I was a lot older than the part, but Mnet chose me. Thank you.
Looking good, of course.
But our work is always just, yeah, we want to fill a gap that's missing in media and that conversations that people are just not talking about.
Yeah.
And we're currently developing a film that's about polyamory and about being queer and sex positive and very young, and a film that we've never seen in media. So, yeah, that's how.
I love that. I don't think it's just a film, though. It goes deeper than that. For me, I think there's this perception, especially for a guy in my space, and I think I can identify with a lot of South Africa, there's this fear of, like, saying the wrong thing, or the lack of education doesn't allow us to really dive into the conversation. So in a weird way, it's almost like you're breaking the ice to allow that conversation to unfold, and instead of us making it personal, we can point at the movie and say, that character, what does that mean, etc. Something I want to dive into right now, especially, is that educational element. Something like polyamory. What exactly is that? How does that pertain to your guys' relationship? Gabe, maybe I can bounce this one on you.
Sure.
Talk to us, man. Educate us.
Yeah. I mean, you put it really well when you said it's being in multiple romantic relationships with everyone's consent, everyone who's involved. For us, it's different for every polyamorous relationship. There are so many different ways to be poly, but personally, we put a lot of focus on communication and honesty, you know, and making sure that each other's needs are met, but with compromise. You know, I can't just say, well, you're not allowed allowed to do this and I'm allowed to do that. Yeah. We have to speak about it and see like what's comfortable for you and what can you sort of accept in the space that can still give me what I need. And it's also you know, we really, because of the interracial dynamic, we really wanted to start our relationship with polyamory because we didn't like any idea of kind of ownership or policing each other with rules because of my being trans and Loren being brown, it doesn't sit right. So we wanted each other to have all the freedoms and safety within those freedoms as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like you speak of the word rules. I don't feel like there are rules in the situation. I mean, everything's been broken, the conversation itself, and much needed so at the same time. But look, that conversation is going to carry on right now, Mzansi. Again, I can't thank you guys for being here. We have so much to dive into. We are going to be chatting to you again in just a bit. You got any questions, of course, come through on social media. This is the opportunity for us to dive deep. Don't be afraid of your naivety. Ask whatever you need to, because here is the reason for us to get educated and obviously understand. We'll be right back with more of this conversation in just a bit.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, Mzansi, welcome back. We're still tucking into all the magic and all the good stuff right here on S3, and an incredible conversation on this Monday morning talking about relationships. Now, today's focus is on the understanding of dynamics of polyamorous relationships. We're also joined by our online specialist today, a counseling psychologist and founder of Conscious Psychology. She goes by the name of Sanam Naran, and she's here to also unpack this topic, as well as still continuing the conversation. And joining us on the couch is Loren and Gabe, who are also going to be weighing in on this. Sanam, let me say good morning to you. How are you doing?
Morning, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. It's so good to have you. I hope you were joined in on the earlier conversation, but maybe I can weigh in and get you involved in this one and talk about polyamory. Now, this is something that I'm trying to wrap my head around as to whether it's something that is an orientation by nature. Is it a choice? What exactly is it?
That's such an important debate because, you know, it's similar to the one around should we always be monogamous? Should we be with one partner for the rest of our lives? And I think it's heavily influenced by religion and society. But if we go back many years to the animal kingdom, most species were polyamorous. There are certain species that are monogamous, but it's very difficult to sort of compare us to the animal kingdom because humans are remarkably different and complex. But I think that debate around whether it's natural or not isn't really helpful because we often as a society use that to justify unequal treatment to that specific population. So my view on it is if that's your desire and if that's your need, then you should really explore that.
I love that. I love the fact that it's not as important as what you actually identify with. Loren, maybe I can ask you this question because, I mean, in a weird way, I can almost identify, the past me can maybe identify with some of the sentiments of polyamory because it almost feels like, there's this excuse of like, I don't need to commit to my partner, I can just like kind of do my thing. Is that the case? Is it an excuse or does it actually kind of almost trend beyond that? It's bigger than that. What is your opinion of that perception really?
I think polyamory is so much commitment. Like, if you have a fear of commitment, I don't think polyamory is the one for you.
Okay, but it sounds so like simple, like you don't have to commit though.
No, you have multiple commitments.
Okay.
It's like almost over-committing yourself in a way.
All right.
There's deliberate choices of scheduling, there's deliberate relationships. You don't go into it easy because you're constantly considering your partner or partners and considering yourself, We only have so much time in a week and you want to prioritize your needs and yourself, but also like give love. And I think I was more uncommitted in my monogamous relationships than I am in my polyamorous relationships.
Oh, so it like raises the level of awareness and the fact that I need to love even more because there's more to give now amongst the many people.
Yeah, you have to be more honest.
Okay, I like that. So now maybe I can ask you, because obviously we're still trying to understand the differences and the real understanding behind polyamory, right? Is there a difference between polyamory and polygamy, if I'm pronouncing it correctly? Because it sounds similar, but I'm sure there is maybe a difference. I don't know, maybe you can weigh in on this.
Yeah, so there is quite a difference between the two. And I think the main two differences is that in polyamory, you have intimate relationships with more than one partner at a time with everybody's consent. But with polygamy, you're married to, or you actually have more than one spouse at a time. So it's more to do with the marriage aspect, as well as in polygamy, we often see more heterosexual relationships, while in polyamory, it's sort of heterosexual as well as part of the LGBT community.
I love that. Gabe, maybe I can ask you this, and maybe I can challenge you at the same time, because polyamory does, in my opinion, allow for the potential for love to manifest in many different spaces, wherever you're perhaps giving it. Are you not then threatened, or maybe potentially like insecurities may arise from the fact that maybe you might lose Loren to somebody else that she feels she resonates with so much more? Are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to be happy with that, knowing that you have the potential to often then, within the week or within an instant, just lose your partner or lose their love to somebody else? Is that a concern even?
Absolutely, in a sense. There's definitely insecurity, and I think everyone feels jealousy. Being poly doesn't mean pretending that we're not human with responses and emotions, that come up. But what the difference is for me experiencing polyamory is learning how to deal with those things. So when the insecurities come up or the jealousy comes up, just speaking to Loren and being like, hey, I'm feeling some type of way about this. Can we talk about it? Can we be soft and mushy with each other for a second and settle the things that I'm making up in my head half the time? Because as Loren said, it's very much about honesty and committing love to each other. So it's not that there's a lack in the love here. It's usually your own brain going oh no, I see Loren's excited about someone else. What if I'm not going to be loved anymore? And that we've been so programmed to believe that we have a finite amount of love, when actually there's space for so much love. And I only want other people to love Loren more. It's not me going, oh no, your love is mine alone. So you have to battle those insecurities, but it's also an incredible antidote to anxiety. If you're an anxious person like me, it has taught me to let go and accept that maybe one day Loren does find someone or multiple people and goes, hey, there's not really a romantic feeling for you anymore, Gabe. I'm gonna exit this, and that's okay. I should be happy for them when that happens. Obviously, I'm a human, and I'll probably cry my eyes out, but I'll be okay, And it's been important to learn that you don't have to glue yourself to someone, and they don't have to love you forever. It's not a strict rule. It's more of a gift that they're giving you.
I like that. It's almost like you almost accepting the reality of relationships in general, which is, with anyone, polygamous or not, it doesn't actually matter. These are realities we all kind of face, and at the same time, I love the fact that you're harping on communication seems to be the key here.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what relationship you're in, it's forcing you to address some of these issues. We'll be addressing more of these issues, more of these topics, and obviously carrying on this conversation. We have the specialist and, of course, this lovely couple on the couch with us. So one more time, we will be tucking into this conversation in just a bit, but for now, let's entertain you, and we catch up later.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back from Zanzi, still feeling so good and still locking into all the good conversation right here. And opening up with S3, of course, your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Now it's Monday, and we're continuing our love and relationship discussion. And today we're zeroing in on the concept of polyamory and its place in modern dating, the world we live in that's so scary as it is. Now we're joined online by a counseling psychologist and founder of Conscious Psychology. Her name's Sanam Naran, the specialist, and she's here to obviously help us unpack this topic. Also on the couch, Loren and Gabe are still weighing in with their personal opinions as well as experiences. Guys, there's so much to chat about. This is our last session of this conversation. I'm hoping that we can have more of these in the future. I want to ask you maybe something of a more practical conversation or question with this relationship and this choice of polyamory. There's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of awareness that needs to take place. And one thing I admire is the level of maturity, like we just discussed earlier, about you need to be in constant communication with each other in order to make this work. And it's good work that you're doing. Practically speaking, though, how do you plan time with each other? I mean, it sounds like, I look at my partner and I'm like, geez, it's busy, it's hectic. You've got to schedule time almost. Is it the same thing in this situation, or do you allow it to just become organic? Like, I don't feel like seeing you this week, so I'll see you when I want to see you, and then a random phone call comes through? Or do you make the plan to engage and this is our time, let's get involved? How does it actually work?
I think every relationship has that feeling of, if you don't schedule, we might miss each other, or your week gets too busy, there's not enough time. I think everyone is always busy, especially right now. And so you do have to be deliberate in creating time for each other, and creating time for other partners, and creating time for yourself, and also for your friendships, to not leave your friendships behind because you're wrapped up in 3 other romantic relationships. So you do have to be quite deliberate, and also set boundaries. sometimes I can't see you every day and I can't see you every week. It means that I'm letting other relationships down by seeing you that frequently. So to set boundaries and just ask for what you need, and sometimes, okay, I'm only seeing you on a Friday, but I miss you on a Tuesday already. There has to be some negotiation. I think it's for every type of relationship.
Yeah, I like that though, because it speaks to the pertinence, and it's also you being direct, you're being honest with yourself before actually bringing up that conversation. So again, with that, I love the positivities. So now maybe I can ask you to weigh in on the conversation, and especially for a lot of people watching right now, I think they're definitely going to be inspired, also maybe curious, and maybe even potentially wanting to explore an open relationship with their partner. How exactly can they start this conversation with their significant other? How do they welcome this phase of the relationship in, if they are looking to do so?
So I think the first thing to do is to really explore your partner's interest in it. So it's not going to be really helpful to go to them and say, look, I want to be in a polyamorous relationship. It might not really work well for you. So to really just explore their interest, to see if it's something that they would be interested in. And to just be honest about why, you are interested in it, and to make sure that you let them know that, you still appreciate them and it's not something that they have done or it's not something that they're lacking. That's why you want to explore a polyamorous relationship. So to have that open, honest conversation with them. And then you need to do it for the right reason. So, it's not going to be helpful if you're doing it because you already have, major issues in your relationship. I don't think that's a good reason to do it, but to also sort of get support. So visit a therapist if you need to, and sort of work through it with your therapist. I think that's a really helpful way to go about it.
Oh, there's such incredible information, Sanam. I can't thank you enough for this. Also, guys, maybe I can weigh in on this conversation. We're speaking so much about the challenges, about the obstacles when it comes to this world of being in a relationship. For the two of you, it's something beautiful, right? And maybe I can ask the question of, what are the positives about this? What are the things that fulfill both of you in this relationship? And what is it that you can really look forward to? And maybe just incentivize the rest of Mzansi. It can work. Feeling the two of you, chatting to you, it seems incredible, but maybe you can share more about that.
Well, for me, my favorite thing about being poly is when I feel what we call compersion in the poly community, which is the feeling of like extreme joy, and you sort of feel part of the joy of the other person's other romantic relationship or relationships. So Loren will come home and tell me something great about a date, and I can be the hype person, I can be the support that I want to be, and also still be the person who gets a kiss at the end of the night and we're still in love. And the same goes, in the other direction. If I'm nervous for a date or I'm having issues with another romantic partner, Loren can really be there for me and be someone who can give me advice and who can hype me when it does feel right. Obviously, there have to be boundaries around it, but you can really get a hype person through polyamory that is really, really cool.
Someone in your corner, on your side. Loren, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we fell in love just supporting each other in our journeys and our truths. And I just want everyone else to have that as well. You really do fall deeper in love the more relationships you learn from. And you know how we always grow when you break up out of a relationship. This is a constant growing because we have other relationships that we learn and grow from. And you grow as an individual. And I don't think there's an end to love, and you don't have an infinite amount of love. You actually learn to love more. You know, if you have more children, you don't love one less. You just love everyone, and you learn to have so much more love. And so if it is something that you're interested in, I think through support and just being honest and truthful, you'll love more.
Oh, I can't thank both of you enough for being on the couch today, showing us what love can become. And of course, we've all been playing a little game with you just to put you on the spot. But think about this, Mzansi. Just imagine this. If you could be yourself, your true, authentic self, and find someone that loves you, that's exactly what we're looking at right now. That's the potential of love in any relationship you get into. And don't compromise on your own love. Of course, we'll be catching up with these two lovebirds. Sanam, thank you so much for also joining in and weighing in on this conversation, the specialist in the building. And Mzansi, thank you for listening.